we're on the Country versus Metal podcast with Jason Eady. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How's it going?
Doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this. I really have. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for jumping on. Especially, we just found out you just literally got home from Hawaii.
I literally just walked in the door. Yeah. It was they're 5 hours behind and the flight was at 9:30 last night. So when I landed, it felt like 9:30 this morning. It basically took 12 hours between the layovers and everything. It was about 12 hours to get back.
Oh wow.
So And yeah, so it's a long trip with, unless you can find a good direct flight, but I couldn't do that. But yeah, I just walked in the door and I'm all rested and relaxed and still in island mode.
Yeah. Oh, so like, man, I can't imagine. I've never been in Hawaii, but every picture, every video I've ever seen, it just looks like paradise.
It really, I mean, it blew my expectations away. I'm not a big beach person, and so I just went because I'm trying to get all 50 states and I've done all 48 in the continental. So I had to go, I've got to make an effort to get to Hawaii and Alaska, which I'm doing both of those this year. But you know, not being a beach person, I'm more of a mountain person, small town, like that kind of thing. So I didn't know if I was going to like it. I just kind of thought it might just be a lot of beaches, and actually, I went to Kauai, which is the smallest island, and it actually wasn't that many beaches. It was kind of hard to find beaches. It was way more tropical. It kind of was a lot of mountains, so it was right up my alley. There was a lot of rainforests and it was just felt like you're in the jungle. It was pretty great.
Now, did you find a song out there?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I did. I thought about bringing my guitar, but that's a pain. I tried not to fly with them if I can avoid it. I've just had a lot of trouble with that over the years. So I found a place in town that would rent a guitar. So I just as soon as I got there, I rented one and just kind of had it on me the whole time. And yeah, got some good writing done. I've got a really cool project coming up. I guess I can go ahead and talk about it now. But I've got a cool project that I'm writing for that I'm going to go in the studio in August. We just firmed this up in the last few days. So, um, but yeah, I'm writing for a very specific album, which is what I do. That's what I've done. My last three albums is I used to just write all the time, and then when it got time to record, I would take the best 10 songs or 12 songs that fit and made an album, and that was the album. And the last three albums I've actually just said, okay, I'm going to write this album, and I set out to intentionally write either a theme or a feel or there's something intentional about it, and then I make myself write that album, which has been a lot of fun. This is 10 albums for me. So after a while, you do start to run out of things to write about. So, I mean, you can only write about yourself. You only have so many of those records in you, and then you
Yeah.
kind of said it all and you start saying it all over again. And so you have to either start writing about things you see around you, other people's experiences, or just new experiences that you have, or you kind of pick a theme and just say, I'm going to write for this, and that it really helps me a lot. So I set out to do that this time too. So I'm about halfway through writing this new project right now.
Nice. Do you have the theme already? Is that
Yeah, yeah. So I'm working with John Fulbright, and we're gonna do I've always loved that Tulsa sound, that J.J. Cale, Leon Russell, that whole sound that came out of Tulsa in the 70s and 80s. It's just a really cool groove feel to it. I did that Mississippi record. My last album was Mississippi, and it was a real groove based Mississippi groove based thing. And so, um, but in doing that, I found out that I was kind of also pulling from the Tulsa thing a lot. And John lives in Tulsa, and he's kind of leading that charge of preserving that whole Tulsa sound up there and that community. And I just love everything about the music up there. I've always loved it. And so I just got with him and I said, I want to make a full on real deal, Tulsa record. I want to dig in and just really, figure out how to do that. And he's got all the players lined up. We got this great studio lined up, and we're gonna do it all in Tulsa, all local players. So anyway, so that's what I'm writing for. So it's yeah, it's another one that's it's more based on the feel as opposed to the lyrics, which I love both. I love writing both of those ways. If I start to do either one too much, I start to lose interest. You know what I mean? If I'm just like writing these lyric based songs all the time, I start to really get like kind of dig myself into a hole with it, and I need a break. And so then I'll just kind of switch over and start writing things that maybe say a little less but just feel good,
Yeah.
And then if I do that too long, I start to miss the other. I'm like, man, I want to write something that says something, So I'm just kind of back and forth all the time between those two ways of writing.
Yeah. What I love about your music is I like some songs, like when needed, they have like a dark vibe to them. And
Yeah.
and I enjoy that. Like there's no like twangy telecasters for no reason. And I just really like with your writing, it just doesn't seem like you have like a formula. Like you go in and oh, we got a pre-chorus here and that and that and that. Because like listening to you today, I was listening to you, for a little while leading up to this, and I really like in Always a Woman. It's very like I love how like Nine Inch Nails just builds on
Mhm.
like one riff, and I love
Yeah.
how and if you don't pay attention, you don't even really realize. And I
Yeah.
just like the cool like there's like a slide like and it's really cool vibe to
Uh-huh.
it, and it has like a dark side to it. And then it's just like how like when you just put on like Jason Eady radio and it'll go to something else, and you're like, oh, well, we're on this side, and then it jumped to
Yeah.
like old guitar in me, and I was like,
Hmm.
with that, it really sounded like somebody was like, hey man, let's make this guitar sound like Merle Haggard. It was
Yeah.
very reminiscent of Mama Tried's tone, and I was like, I know that sound, and I was like, because I've listened to a couple podcasts we go on, and I know you're a huge Merle Haggard fan. I was like, man,
Hmm.
I was like, that's got to be intentional. It's
Yeah, well, that's Red Volkart playing that lick, and Red played with Hag for a while.
oh,
So yeah, uh-huh. So we're not because I knew with that record that was the AM Country Heaven album, and I again like that one was based more on this is an intentional thing. I want to make a country record. I just love that sound. I want to do this, and so I knew if I was going to do that, I knew exactly the kind of players I wanted. I wanted those old school honky tonk guys, and especially getting the chance to work with Red, who had played with Merle Haggard. That was a home run for
yeah,
me to get to have that. So yeah, that yeah, that's a very intentional Hag sound on that song and that
I'd
whole
say
album.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that at all. Who would have
Yeah.
thought?
Yeah. The Always a Woman one, that's really cool for me too, because that one, another thing about that song, that's on a record that every instrument on that thing is acoustic. It was my touring band, and then Rob Ikes and Trey Hensley sat in and played the other instruments. And so it was six of us. It was all live, no overdubs, and all acoustic instruments. And that song specifically, like we really had to figure out how do you make this, because it's just that one riff for 4.5 minutes. It never changes. And you got to figure out how to make that interesting. And the fact that you said that, like, if you're not paying attention, you don't even notice it is a good thing. If you're sitting there halfway through the song, you're going, this thing's not moving, then there's a problem. So the fact that it it kind of hides that a little bit. So we worked really hard to kind of find ways to build that up and just make the song kind of grow as the song, build as the song was moving along. So uh, yeah, I love what everybody did on that one. I still am pretty amazed when I listen to that track, just what all the guys did to pull that off. Because it's easy for me to write that song. I mean, it's one pattern. I never stop what I'm doing the entire song. And so for the guys in the studio to take that and make it interesting is that's work. That's talent.
Yeah, I can't believe that's just like an off the floor. Just And it was all just one take,
Yeah.
that entire album.
Yeah, I've done my last four records that way. That one was the one that made me realize that's how I want to make records from now on. And so from that album, from that I Travel On album on, everything's been just live. We just mic it up and go, and that's what it is. And so if when you hear something, that was the take. We may have done three or four takes, and we took the best one, but we don't splice things together. We don't do any of that stuff. Just what you hear is what it is. And sometimes, you do run across. You're like, man, if we could, I wish we could pull this one thing from this one other take. But I don't know. I'm just more into the spirit these days. I'm more in the spirit of just nope, this is what we did. So that's what we got. You
That's
know, yeah.
that's incredible.
And we don't play to clicks or anything. So there's also that, like it's real hard to kind of pull from one take to another. It might be off just a little bit. So yeah, we kind of have been making these records where you almost force yourself. You don't give yourself the option. There is no click track. There's no, there's all these things are, you don't give yourself that backup plan. So you just kind of have to go with what happens. And I
Yeah,
don't know, there's an energy, there's just I think there's an energy to making records like that. There's some things you could definitely get better and get more perfect doing it another way. And this is also saying I'm saying all this like that's I consider myself a roots musician. I mean, that's kind of how I define myself as roots music. Country bluegrass, bluesy stuff. But basically what I like to say is if you can sit on the back porch unplugged and play it, that's kind of what I like, and that doesn't mean it has to be unplugged, but just that style of just, and so that way of recording lends itself to that kind of music. Now, if I was making like, U2 records or, a Coldplay record, if you're making something with all these kind of sonic, like that's part of the album, then of course that wouldn't work. You've got 20 things going on and then that's a whole other masterpiece in the studio. It's just not my style. It's not what I do, but there's a art to that as well. It's just for what I do, the kind of music I make, I prefer the just let's just set up and let's just set up and roll the tape and go.
that's all. Like I had no idea, and I watched a lot of like interviews with you. That's like an incredible thing, especially now of how like it's almost like really hard to be traditional when there's just so many things where like you're definitely gonna have to have somebody that wants to work with you. You're not gonna go to another country town. They're gonna be like, "What do you mean no click?"
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's. I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna have to like re-listen and really like appreciate it like even more.
Yeah, you can hear there's some little things like on my last record, on the Mississippi album, on that there's a song called Wayside, and you can hear like if you listen real close, I start playing, it's just me and acoustic guitar, and you can hear Gordy, the producer, you can hear him shutting the door to the room that I'm in. But the song had already started, so we just like let's just roll with it. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in there where you can hear little things that I think in any other situation we would have pulled out. But yeah, I like it. I think it's fun too. It's really I enjoy the studio. It cuts down time in the studio, which isn't the point at all, but it does. You can make a record pretty quick that way.
Yeah,
Just get the guys in and you got to find the right guys. I mean, I think if you're gonna to make records like that, I think pre-production is huge. You got to make sure that you're all on the same page. You got the right guys. You got the right engineer. Everybody knows what because you can't get in there and then hit record and then start figuring that stuff out. You have
yeah,
to have all those conversations beforehand. And this is the kind of record we're making, and this is what we're doing, and everybody has to be on the same page. So getting all that squared away beforehand is pretty important for doing that.
yeah. And it's funny. I had like I always say like I had a Stevie Ray Vaughan moment when obviously I've heard your music before, and I know you play guitar, but I never seen you play guitar. And the one time when you were playing down at Mile Zero, I was kind of like off to the side and I couldn't really see. But
Mhm.
yeah, you joined TikTok and I was watching you play, and I'm like, oh my God, like, and I love you made a video of how you do it, and I love it's your typical guitar player answer. I don't know how I do
Yeah.
this, and I like because I know exactly what you're saying, but like when you read because like I had no idea. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a fan of just a guy with an acoustic. You know,
Hmm.
like I don't mind like seeing like a female with a guitar that's I'm like, all right, let's go. But with like for some reason it has to be like Paco de Lucia, somebody. But I could watch you play acoustic all day. I just did you just
Oh,
have
yeah.
this groove and your right hand is just and your timing is like it's like it's mechanical and soulful all at the same time and you're playing the bass, you're playing the rhythm, you're playing the all the leads all at once and to just to see it because I remember the first time I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan I was like hey, this guy's good and I just remember a guy be like what do you mean good, you know, like I should hit you boy, you know, and I'm
Uh-huh.
and you bring up a video and you're like oh my god, like the mechanics
Yeah.
of what he was doing and the mechanics of what's going on and I just like the more you think about it, the more you can't do it. It just
Yeah.
comes natural. But it's and I love how I always love like knowing you're from Mississippi. And I love the Delta blues and all like the folklore and all the legends and the crossroads
Hmm.
and then you just you mix it with so much other stuff that I've come to love as well. It's really cool, and like along the same lines of your good friend Adam Hood, that groove.
Yeah.
It's it's just man, I just really like how you guys can weave in all these styles and still
Yeah.
deliver like great stories and just everything just gels, and I just really like kind of like you get lost in it, and I just remember so oh who you have on the podcast? I'm like Jason Eady, and I just like put something out, and they're like, man, that sounds really country, and then next they're like, man, that sounds like blues. I'm like, see, it's it's it's
Uh,
it's cool. I
yeah.
just love that about what guys like you were doing.
Yeah, in a way, I mean, it's probably hurt my career in a way. I mean, I think that's true. You know, I think if you really want your career to explode, you kind of have to find a thing and just drive it into the, you have to drive it home. You know, that's how careers take off, you know, is you
Yeah,
just give people what they want over and over and over again. I don't, I get bored out of my mind if I do that. You know, if I had to do just the same, you know, like this is my style, this is what I do, and I mean, I mean, I admire the hell out of people that do it. You know, guys like Don Williams sounded the same on his first record as he did on his very last record, and I love every single one of them. So I love that people can do that. I just personally, it's not my thing, you know. But I do think it has hurt. It's hurt me. I mean, it's been exactly what I wanted to do artistically, but career-wise, yeah, it's probably held me back a little bit. But that's all right. I'll take it.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. Like, is there like JCD fans from like one album to the other, and then they ever come back? They ever come up to you after the show and be like, "Hey man, that last album, but you got me with this one." Is it
Yeah.
like a
All the
theme?
time. Yeah, but what I think what's great about, and it took a long time to get here to this place, but what I love now is my fan base. They're just kind of hanging on to see what the next one's going to be, you know, and they may or may not like it, but even if they don't like it, they just know that there's the next one coming after that, you know, and instead of people being like, I'm a fan of your country stuff and I'm a fan of your this, you know, your songwriting stuff or whatever, which used to happen, you know, it used to happen where, you know, I'd get fans for this one kind of record and then the next one I'd make be different and then I'd kind of lose that group and have, you know, but over the years it's kind of settled into this fan base of people that just that's what they're list they're just in it to see what I'm going to do, you know, and I love that. I love the freedom of that a lot. But
Yeah,
yeah, I definitely get people that come up and they're like, man, I don't, you know, I like more when you tell stories with your songs, and then other people are like exactly the opposite. So it's all over the place. Yeah.
yeah,
But you can't, you know, you can't really chase that, you know. I mean, once you start chasing that, I think it's you, you know, you can get watered down pretty quick.
yeah. You like lose a part of yourself when you're trying to it's so weird to be an artist when
Huh.
at the end of the day you want to be happy, you want your audience to feel happy, and it's just no one's going to be 100%, even just as much as you try.
Yeah, there's no way.
it, it's just
Yeah.
man, it's just an incredible, like even on like social media, you try to make everybody happy, and it's just like, man, and you just get that one comment, and you're like, man, I know, the whole stick and stones, but man.
I know. I can't read comments. I have to really back off because I will do that. Even like when a record comes out or something, I can get 500 people going, I love it, and there's one guy that says, I don't, this thing sucks or whatever, and that's what I obsess about is that
Yeah,
one guy. So
I know
I
exactly what
hate
you're saying.
I hate that I do that, but I do.
Did you get a phone call?
No, what happened?
I just kind of, it's fine. Maybe it was just catching up.
Oh, okay.
But but yeah, like when you are writing songs, what's more important to you? Is it like saying something new or keeping it true?
Oh man, that's good. I think it's I don't know, probably saying something new. Um, I try to say something new. I mean, I I stop myself a lot of times when I'm writing because I'll get into something and even though I like it, I just go, man, I've done this one. I've said this before, and I just don't want to do that. Maybe if I was writing for other people, which isn't really something that I do. Um, if I was doing more of that, I probably would continue on with those. But knowing that I'm going to be putting these songs out, yeah, I try not to just rehash the same things over and over again. But again, that just gets harder and harder every
Yeah,
album. It gets harder to do that. But you find ways. I think it's making me observe more in life. It's making me really like I said, get out of my own head and kind of write about other people and what I see other people going through, and um, really listening a lot more, listening to other people's stories, and just paying attention a lot more so that
yeah.
I've got material.
Does being on the road as constant as you help? Like, because you're like a modern day boxcar traveling
uh
traveling musician. It seems.
Yeah, I love the road and I love it. Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, you see stuff all the time, every day. Whether it's in the clubs you're playing or at restaurants, or I love listening in on conversations. I travel alone a lot. I have a tour manager. He's been with me for a few years, and it's a great relationship because he loves to travel. I met him because he was like this van life guy that was living in his van and just traveling the country. Um, and he asked why I didn't have a tour manager, and I said I just really like driving around by myself. I really love that part of it. I love the solitude of it. That's when I do a lot of writing. It's when I'm by myself. It's when I love being able to just decide I'm going to wake up early and go 2 hours out of the way that day to go see this one thing or whatever. I love all that stuff without having to worry about somebody else. And he said, "Well, it's cool because that's exactly what I do." So that's what we do to this day. We meet up. He drives separate. I drive myself. We meet up at the gigs when we go our own way. And anyway, so because I'm by myself a lot, I do tend to. I kind of stay quiet, go into restaurants and coffee shops and things like that, and just eavesdrop a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, I've done it. Like just going to a diner and just sitting at the bar of a diner and just listen to the locals just talk. You hear
yeah,
it's funny how you get a feel of the town of what they're talking about. It is a pretty cool experience. Just
yeah, yeah. It's great. I love it. I like seeing real life. In everything that like in movies that I watch and books that I read and songs that I listen to. I'm just more of a fan of the grit. You know what I mean? The in between the cracks. I just don't love things don't grab me that are big, that are like over the top thematic and that kind of like the big themes. I don't know, it doesn't really grab me, but I love the little stuff. Um Jamie Lynn Wilson and I wrote a song one time. It's one of my favorite songs I've ever been a part of. It's called Daylight and Dark. And the whole song is just like it's just a day in the life of this guy that wakes up and he's had a bad night. He's been having some bad nights and he's decided he wants to quit drinking. And so it's just a day in the life of a guy that's doing that, and there's nothing big about it. Nothing big happens. There's no big storyline. There's not a big plot. It's just kind of like here's his day. And man, I love that stuff. I love it when I'm listening to songs. There's some writers out there that are just so good at just man, they just do those little things, and you go, oh, I know exactly what that means. I know exactly what that feels like. I know exactly who you're talking about. I just love that kind of writing.
So you prefer to do your writing in solitude, just
Uh-huh.
in your own
Yeah.
head?
Yeah, I do a lot of it in the car these days. I just kind of sing into my phone, voice memos and stuff like that when I'm driving down the road, and a lot of that, and a lot of but yeah, I typically, if I co-write, I can count on one hand the number of times that I've sat in a room with somebody and said, "Let's write a song," start to finish, let's write a song. Um, Adam and I have done that a few times, and Jamie and I have done it a few times. But usually, it's I've started something and I, got stuck and I need help, and or vice versa, But yeah, I like to try to write by myself. I try to finish them all by myself. If it's a co-write, it's usually because I've gotten stuck and I need,
Yeah.
or I catch myself like what I said earlier about rehashing something I've already done. I'm starting to go, oh man, I've done this, but I don't know what else to do. So I'll take it to Adam. Let's see what he would do, and then he takes it in a completely different direction, and it's cool.
Yeah, it's like what Adam told me. He said I'm a great second verse guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
I'm
he's
like,
also the fastest writer I've ever. I mean, it's intimidating to. That's why we work better. Usually, I mean, the songs we wrote on the Mississippi record, we wrote four songs in one night, sitting in a room together. But usually, it's like I'll send something to him, and then he finishes it at his house by himself, because he's so fast, that if you're sitting in a room with him, and you've got, you know, I'm trying to work on this one line, and he comes back and goes, "Okay, what about this?" And he's got the whole verse done. He's just that quick. He's that fast, and I'm not that fast at all. I take my time, and I just can't work fast like that. So, whenever we sit in a room together, it's usually me going, "Here's the outline of what I want to do. Here's the feel," and then he kind of makes it happen. Yeah.
yeah, I just like when I asked him, I said, what does it take to be able to write a song with Adam Hood? How would somebody go about that?" And he goes, "Just ask." That's all I had to do. I love how like
Uh-huh.
you look at all his credits and everything. Just ask, just ask, man.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think he's lying. I think that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. He, he's he's a great dude. I really I met him the same night I met you, and it just and I got to hang out with him a little bit, and I just love how like when we were standing side stage, and it was Jamie Lynn Wilson and whatnot, and he was like, "Man, Rhymes, I just don't get it. It's so small." And I was like, I think that's what the bar name was called. I just was just laughing,
Uh-huh.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I've gotten to talk to him a bunch of times, and it's really cool how that circle is, and I love that song you did with Taylor Honeycutt, and he
Mm,
did one with her as well. I just
yeah.
man, like how did that come about? Was that just like
Well, that's a song that Adam and I wrote together, and then Taylor ended up singing on it. So that was kind of a really cool that all came together. Yeah, so I had put that song out by myself with just me singing it, and then we decided, just, once I met Taylor and her voice, I wanted to do something with her, and I wanted to do something with her quick. I didn't want to have to, let's write this thing and maybe in a year we can put this out. I was like, I got a song right now that I'd love
yeah,
for you to sing on. And so I'd never done that before, re-recorded, re-released something like that. But man, she just nailed it. I mean, she's unbelievable. She's a
yeah,
powerhouse. So that was a lot of fun. It's been fun getting to do it live with her too, and I love her. I think she's amazing. Um, but yeah, Adam and I wrote that song, and I just I connected with Adam because when I first moved to Texas, I was definitely the outsider. I mean, it was all these Texas guys. I didn't know anybody. I had this one guy that I had met that kind of put me on this little festival in Austin, and I didn't know a single person there. And I was in the first round, and in the second round, I hear this voice, and I said, I know what that voice, I know that, it's Southern, it's a Southern voice. I know that. That's not Texas. And sure enough, it was Adam, and we met that night. And then we were just kind of, a lot of things were very similar. We were about 6 months apart in age. We grew up just a couple hours from each other, playing a lot of the same kinds of places when we were growing up. And we have our daughters were like 2 weeks apart in age. So just a lot of just weird coincidences like that, that we just kind of hit it off. We've been friends ever since. That was almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
But yeah, yeah, he's amazing. He's an amazing writer. And you talk about guitar. I think his guitar work is really something special. I mean, I can do a lot of that, but I'm not a lead player at all. I definitely focus on the rhythm end. Um, so he can also, he's got that really groovy right hand, but also can do that lead guitar stuff over the top of it, which is I love playing with him. We do duo shows together a lot, and it's one of my favorite things to do because we've just kind of found our roles with two guitars. I'm gonna sit down here and do this part, and you go up here and do this part. And I think we're gonna tour like that together again sometime soon. I know we haven't nailed it down, but we keep going back to it.
Yeah. That's
Uh-huh.
probably a great show. I love what you've recently done with Midnight River Choir. I thought that was genius
Yeah, that was
of
fun.
having them open up, and then you just come
Uh-huh.
on stage. You don't have to move
Yeah.
any amps or
I stole that from I think it was Hayes Carl. It was either Hayes Carl or Todd Snyder did it with the band of Heathens one time years and years ago, where they went out and they opened. I can't remember which one of those two it was, but one of those two they opened for him, and then where they stayed up and were his band. I thought, man, that is just genius because I don't do band shows enough to have a band, and it's always been a battle with me
yeah,
because I like the solo stuff, and I may just go take a year and do solo stuff. Well, no band's going to stick around for that. So, and I don't blame them. Um, so it's really hard for me to keep a band together, and I don't love just calling side guys for certain shows because the show never gets tight. I mean, it's good, but it's not tight. It's not a
yeah,
show. Um, and so that way of doing it really bridges the gap. You just find these guys. They've already got their stuff worked out. They're already solid and tight, and they've got their communication down, and they know exactly who's going to do what. And you just kind of get to jump in the middle of all that. And yeah, that was really really fun. We haven't done it in a little while now, but I'm sure we will again. But that was a lot of fun doing it that way.
yeah. No, it's funny. It's like I remember asking. I don't know if it was Eric or maybe Bob. I said, how would you guys classify yourself?" And he said, "Some man people call us Texas groove." I love
Uh,
that.
that's really good. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get that.
yeah,
Yeah, they are a groovy band, man. They are.
yeah,
That's why I called them because that record needed it, and that's a hard thing to find. I mean, you can find good players, but players that get that feel, man, it's tricky. It's hard to. It's not easy to come by, especially you got to have a whole rhythm section that's together on that stuff and all of it. It's just really hard to find. It's really hard to find people that can groove like that. Bob Driver's one of the grooviest bass players I've ever heard in my life. I mean,
yeah,
it blows me away being up there with him.
yeah. Last time I was in Texas, I got to catch them, and I was late, and the drummer wasn't there. And I was like, man, they still put on a great show,
Yeah, yeah,
and
they're great.
they're a lot of fun too. I love those guys. They're great.
Yeah, they're fun. We almost had too much fun on that run.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
they were telling me they're like, dude, the cab ride mile zero was crazy. I was like, we took a cab. Like what? I was like, that's all on
Yeah.
you. I was just like, because going down there, I didn't think anybody really knew who I was.
Hmm.
And it's funny is I was like, oh, I'm a day early. No one's gonna be here, and I didn't expect. I've never had people come up to me and be like,
Yeah.
hey, 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 and that was like kind of like overwhelming. But
Yeah.
but if they were like one of the first people I saw, and I was just like, that's definitely that's Midnight River Choir. I was like, I kept telling people, I was like, if you're not on your album cover, I don't know what you look like,
Yeah. Right.
and
Yeah.
that's and I just had a feeling when I saw Eric in those glasses. I was like, man, that's got to be Midnight River Choir, and
Yeah.
that was a cool experience to actually. And you get to that was my first like, man, everybody's nice. Everybody is like helpful. That's always been like the coolest thing that I really love about the scene is like everybody I've talked to, even if it's like, obviously we schedule this, but if I just in passing just stop and talk to somebody, and it's like this huge like spite. I haven't found anybody that just said, that screw that guy, this and that and that, and
Yeah.
everyone's been kind of, they probably keep them to themselves if I talk about somebody they don't like, but for the most part, it's been really great, and it's been like really cool how like I'm just a guy that listens to music on TikTok. Like I never found I never ever thought like if you were to like bring it like a time machine, like I'd be like wearing like chains and a leather jacket, and I'd be like,
Hmm.
well, you're gonna grow up and find this country music that you love, and I would have been like, there's no way you could ever convince me back then that I would ever find anything like that I loved. And it was
Uh-huh.
weird because like even though I was listening to like Slayer and Obituary and all that, I still I still was reading Bukowski, and like I loved poetry, and I loved all like the beat writers, and I loved Hunter S. Thompson, and I loved literature and stories, and like Seeger would be like the only like story songs I'd be listening to, or like Leonard Skinner would probably be the closest to country, but it's not only is the music great, it's just it's nice knowing like when I was telling Cody Jinks, and I like doing these like when people like you find out like you listen to an artist and you would have no problem like inviting them over for like Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Because
Right. Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
cool. I
Yeah.
you just don't expect that because and it's always funny when people are like, "Who do you have on the podcast?" And then they're like, "Oh, never heard of them. Never heard of them." I was like, "Well, it's obvious because you're not listening. You need to get on,
Uh-huh.
like, because I know a lot of people they still like when you turn on the radio and you put a country on, it's not, it. I guess it works for some people, but it's you know what I mean, like like dog, beer, truck, stuff like that, and it's I get that anthem type stuff for certain situations if you just want to like be mindless and repeat the same 8 lines over and over and over again, and
Yeah.
but it's cool. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got soul.
Yeah, it does. Is that what you, I mean, because you're like the way you're coming at the way this whole thing started with you was really cool. Just the like not knowing about it and discovering it and all of that. I mean, is that kind of what attracted you to it? Is the independence of it?
Oh man, that's another thing that I love is everybody. I get like pub deals, some people have publishing deals, and hey, you got to get your if you don't get your stuff on streaming platforms, why even bother?
Hmm.
Or, but like being independent, like you don't have when you deal with people that obviously like with record deals, you like everything's got to be contractual, and everything has to be mapped out, and there's always like a restriction. But when these people, like, you can do whatever you want, you can play what you want, you can just you can be like, hey man, I wrote this song, and be like there's no one going like, well, we should wait for the market to turn, and it'd probably be do better than that. And you just go, now I'm gonna drop it tonight, like
Yeah, right.
I got TuneCore, Disto Kid, boop,
Yeah,
it's up, and I just
yeah,
really love. Yeah, you can just do whatever you want, work with whoever you want. But yeah, that's another really cool thing, and
yeah,
like you know, and you can pay your band more,
Yeah.
which
I
I
was
love.
talking to somebody on a that signed to a major label, and I said something. Um, we got a. I said something about putting a song on a bluegrass album, and he goes, "Man, I wish I could make a bluegrass album." And I just thought that's another. That's just a whole other world. You know what I mean? Like, because
Yeah,
I can decide that tomorrow and go make a bluegrass album next week and put it out. But I can't imagine living in a world where there's something you want to do and there's people that can tell you that you can't do that. That seems strange to me.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't, I mean, there's benefits to what I mean, they obviously get a lot of stuff out of it, but I just, as an artist, that would be very frustrating for me to have somebody go, I know you want to do this, but you can't do that. And then
yeah,
that would, I think I'd just quit the whole thing at that point.
yeah.
But
It's why you left the 9 to 5 in the
yeah.
corporate world. You know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
whose name's on the marquee? You know,
Right.
it says Jason Eady.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think one of the things going like to the mainstream thing, I don't talk about it too much. Yeah, I made that AM Country Heaven record and I think like to me that was my statement about it, and I figured out real quick that I didn't want to be the guy that was like out there trying to save country music. You know what I mean? I like that was a path I didn't want to go down because I like to do other things too. And I
yeah,
learned real quick that if you're that guy out there and that's what you're doing is like waving that flag, um, as soon as you do something else, you're a traitor,
mm,
you're a sellout or whatever. And I was like, I can't live like this. So, I mean, I meant what I said on the album, of course, and I still do. And I'm still going to make another album like that one day, but I like other things too. Um, so I don't want like I'm not trying to be the crusader about it. But I definitely have thoughts about it. But I do think the one thing that's happened is country music's the only genre that I can think of that hasn't subdivided. I mean, think about how many genres of rock and roll there are.
yeah,
There's grunge and I mean there's emo and I mean I don't I'm not I'm sure there's a million more now that I don't even know what they're called anymore. But
yeah,
I mean, even like during award shows, you got the Grammys, and there's not like maybe there is best rock album, but in addition to that, there's like all these other things that we would all consider to be basically rock and roll, um, and uh, country hasn't done that. It's just like here's country, and here's Tyler Childers and here's Sam Hunt, and they're both in the same genre. Like that's not the same genre. It's not
yeah,
the same genre of music. And so like it's crazy that it's the one thing that just has this like we're supposed to just kind of that's why the battle is always raging about what's real country and all that stuff because they haven't let it subdivide out because if there was a pop country category and that's the way I think about it when I hear what those guys are doing I don't even it doesn't even register with me. It would be like me trying to compete with like a hip hop artist or something. Like it's not it's a different world. It's not even it's not what I'm doing. It's a different genre of music, And so I really do think that I wish that would happen in country. I wish there would be a pop country category and I don't know what you would call them all, but and I mean there kind of is, there's Americana and stuff like that, but overall, like we all say we're playing country music and that's I mean everybody thinks they're playing country music. I don't know. It's I would like to see there be more of a subdivision of that genre to happen.
yeah,
I mean, every jazz has it. I mean, jazz has punk music had subcategories of, they all have had it, and country just kind of refuses to do it for some reason.
yeah. I know it would make the fans a lot very happy because you watch
Yeah,
the award shows and you just when they read the name out and like you're looking and you're like, why is Chris Stapleton not getting up right now? You're like, oh, they gave it to it's
yeah,
just like,
yeah,
and a lot of it like it doesn't have to do with like streams and units sold, and that's what I always try to tell people. Like now, there's people like Chris Stapleton. It's somebody that is massively talented that obviously deserves everything he ever gets because he's a monster, an incredible vocalist. And you know, if you really look around, you can find people kind of like on that path too, of
Hmm.
of in that trajectory of, and it's just people watch these award shows and everything, and they keep giving it to the it's like
Hmm.
oh, another one, oh, another one, and you just like it does get frustrating because and it's cool like I still that side of country. I don't when I get in the car and people are like, "Oh, hey," and then I'm like, "Not this, not this,"
Yeah.
But it is cool to
Yeah.
see like Cody Johnson
Yeah.
and to know names now and the people that have like songs that they hit you, uh, hit you in the feels, and it's not snap and clap tracks and they put the 808s on it. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Oh yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it's like there's a formula, you know. You could go into a studio and write a hit song.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be you. It wouldn't be probably. It probably wouldn't. It's not who you are, But
Yeah.
there's a way to go in, and it's funny. Like I don't know if you saw what Mitchell Ferguson did. He did like just a funny like then drink a beer. It just did a
Oh.
and it like it blew up, and they're like, you should really write this. And like
Yeah.
I've met him, and I had his shirt on, and he just did it as a joke, and he kind of like, maybe I will write this song, and somebody stopped me up here and said, how do you have a Mitchell Ferguson shirt? He didn't even finish the song. I said, my God, I said, this is incredible because he
Yeah.
doesn't drink, and he was just doing it as a joke to like make fun of that style of
Yeah.
this is how easy it is to write a song, and he proved his point, and it's just, I mean, he's torn on it,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
I love like it's like when Blink 182 went out, they put out their mainstream album, and like grandparents and parents took their kids to Blink 182, and they didn't play the radio friendly hits the whole night. They played like their music, and people were like,
hmm.
oh my god, cover your ears, what's going on?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
I yeah, I don't know. Well, I may get myself in a lot of trouble saying this because I've never said this in public before, but I think, people, the big question about AI, and is it going to take songwriters' jobs? I think if you're writing those kinds of songs, yes, I think your job is very much in danger because you're
yeah,
already an algorithm. People are already telling you, we need a song that has this feel, this beats per minute. It's got to have these words. It's got to say these things. Well, you can feed that to AI and it would do it tomorrow. I think we're within a few years of there being a number one hit song that was written by AI. But if you're trying to write a song that touches people, and a song that grabs people, and you can't, AI's never, it's never gonna replace that.
yeah.
It's not, that's the humanity part. But if you're trying to write a hit song that just has these catchphrases and these certain beats and these, X beats per minute and all the things, I mean, I think those guys are in trouble because
Oh yeah,
I mean, I think AI's figuring out how to do that real quick.
yeah.
But oh, go ahead. Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, there's no way that could ever replicate like your sound, what you do. It's especially like just going into a studio and just taking it off the floor like that. It's like when I was talking to Summer Dean. I said it sounds authentic. Like it sounds like people went in, made music, and got their story out, told their
Hmm.
truths and their sadness, and this 3 to 5 minute stories. And it's funny, she's like, everyone always says authentic about my music, and I just really am just going in there and just making music. I'm just kind of wanting to be like authentically, like
Yeah, that's the
a,
definition, right?
a lot of analog, and like there's no studio tricks, and I just I just love that good, honest. Like when people back in the day with the Tascam, the 4 track,
Hmm.
go
Yeah.
in and just record. I don't care to have scratches. That scratchiness and like Robert Johnson was like, shh, you know what I mean? He went in a room with a guitar in his voice and put down timeless. They still make movies and documentaries about
Right.
the talent will shine through. That's what I always try to
Yeah.
tell people when they're like, "Oh man, really need to put this to a parallel master bus," and then I'm like, "Dude, just put it out. Let the people
Yeah.
decide. Stop
Yeah.
hoarding gold." It, it,
There's so many examples of that. I mean, Nebraska was one of those, that wasn't that done on a 4 track. That Springsteen did that whole Nebraska record
oh,
like
I didn't
that.
know that. That's
I
crazy.
think he did. And Willie Nelson, I remember that was when he did Redheaded Stranger. The story that I heard was that he had um managed to get creative control. He'd negotiated that into his contract that he got creative control on his records. And so he went in and made Redheaded Stranger, and he turned it in, and they're like, okay, so when do we make the record? Like they thought it was the demos. And that record is timeless. And
Yeah,
I guarantee you just went in and sat around and played that stuff, played those songs. And those records are the ones that, because you just you can't produce authenticity. I mean, it's such a cliche word to say, but it's so true. I
yeah,
mean, not cliche, but just it's the only word you can use. I mean, that's what it is. It's authentic, and there's no tricks, there's no agenda. Just let's just sit down and make this music.
yeah. Which I, that's the one thing that drew me to the Texas scene. And I say Texas scene, and I know there's a lot of people in like Arkansas and Oklahoma. You know what I mean? But it's
Hmm.
I just remember like the first time I'm like, man, you call this country? It sounds like they're using like Mesa Boogie amps. There's distortion on this. Like
Yeah.
this got a hard edge, and I just really and like when I listen to yours, I was like, man, like I love like that Delta blues slide and like that scratchiness or just the slide. Just I love stuff like that because that's what it's supposed to sound like. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're not going to get a VST or it, I don't even know if you could find a slide guitar modeler like you would play on like a touchpad or something. It's just it's weird to be like, man, it sounds like people went in a room and made that, and
Yeah.
it's why is that such a lost art? And I get like some it works on with some people, and but you can still make it sound real, like Whiskey
Hmm.
Myers. Those guitars, they sound like Whiskey Myers, and I
Yeah.
love that. I love like I always repeat it, but it's the truth. Like back back in the day when you just hearing the guitars, you would know, oh, that's ACDC. Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
that's a David Gilmour solo.
Hmm.
That's Eric Clapton. They all that Santana. Even if you didn't like them, you knew who they were because they had their tone, their sound had characteristics. And I get it now. You buy a Mac, it's got GarageBand coming out the gate, and you can record and to make it sound better. You can throw a
Hmm.
bunch of stuff on it, but everybody else is doing it too, and it's just I don't know. I always feel like I'm at my like get off my yard phase with certain stuff.
I know, I know. I hate it because I do feel like that a lot. And I don't mean to, because I'm not against progress or any of that. I mean, I
Yeah,
love it. I love to see things move forward, and I'm definitely not things should stay like they were and never change. And yeah, I'm 100% not that. That would be boring as hell if it was like that. But there's a way to there's a way to create and be original that's still that's still like finding what you do and figuring out how to get that across without just jumping on bandwagons. And but I guess it's always happened. I don't know. I think about guys like I think about like John Prine or Guy Clark or some of my songwriting heroes, that were never stars at all, but they were respected forever. And at any point in John Prine's career, he had to have just looked, because he had a career from the early '70s, until 5 years ago, and at any point he had to look around and just go, what the hell is going on? Like there's
Yeah.
all this stuff and it all sounds the same and it's all, there's like these fads and these things and these guys are making millions of dollars and 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 he just kind of was John Prine the whole time. He just stayed John Prine. And now I bet, you could go look at any given week in John Prine's career and see what the number one song was. I bet half of them you wouldn't even know who that artist was anymore. You've forgotten about him. But you got John Prine, who's legendary. And he will be for a long time. So I think I like the conversation of it, talking about why it's but I do get the, get off my lawn thing. I get that feeling myself sometimes when I talk about it. I like to talk about it, but I'm not really wrapped up in it. You know what I mean? I kind of
Yeah.
see it in perspective too. And I know that, I've been doing this 20 years and I've watched things, that at one point was like it was the thing and it was what it was what you were supposed to be doing. And now it's laughable, like some of those things that they said you were supposed to be doing, like people make fun of now, and the guys that did it I would be embarrassed if I was them. So I think that's always happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that because I've seen people do that. And yeah, I wanted to ask, like, you're a Willie Nelson fan, right? Um,
Mhm.
Now, do you have something like do you have like his equivalent of like trigger, like
Yeah.
something?
hmm Yeah, for sure. I have a '07 songwriter. I bought it off the shelf. I had a J45 that I started with, and um, Ralph Stanley, the bluegrass. He's a legendary bluegrass, one of my all-time heroes. Big bluegrass guy. I got to open for him one time in 2007, and he signed this J45 right across the front of me, huge letters, and I thought this is gonna be my guitar forever because it was like him and Merle Haggard were my two guys, and and then like a week after he did that, it got stolen out of my trailer.
Ah,
And so I had insurance on it. They sent me to Guitar Center and they said, okay, here's your credit at Guitar Center, here's the value, and just go. And I went to go grab a J45 and there was this Gibson songwriter right next to it. And I said, I mean, it's the same price. Let me just see. And I played it. And I mean, it was one of those, I mean, the second I touched it, the second the first note came out of it, I knew that that was my guitar forever. I just knew it. And I've had it ever since. It's beat to hell now. It's kind of getting triggery, as far as it's just got all kinds of cracks. And I don't even really take care of it because I've learned that the more every little new crack it gets or dent or ding it gets, it just sounds better and better and better. And so I just kind of I have another really, really nice one that I love too, but I've got one that's my definitely my I haven't named it yet. I guess I should, but it's my workhorse, and I've been playing that guitar since the day I bought it in '07, so almost 20 years now.
nice. I
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just watching your videos. I was just wondering. I was like, I bet she has just a guitar that's just hopefully that stays with you forever.
Yeah, well, part of it too is because I hit guitars really hard to get that sound, and that guitar is really thick. It's got a really solid body, and I can hit it. If I played other guitars the way I play that one, I would put holes in them pretty
Yeah.
quick. So I just kind of found the right combination of a guitar that I can beat on as hard as I need to, and it takes it. Yeah, I did have to have a guy. It's kind of been customized. I had to have a guy. A guy went in and put a piece of carbon fiber right under where I hit it with my hand, so that it like to keep it from just breaking into pieces all the time. So it's reinforced. So
Nice.
that's the one thing. I'm not a very materialistic guy, but that's the one thing that that's my run into a burning building and save, you know, thing because it's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Everything else I have, I can get it again. Um, but that one, once it's gone, there's no bringing that one back. So that's my, I pay extra care taking care of that one, or at least keeping up with it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's funny. It's like I always thought I played guitar hard, and talking to people like you and seeing other people's guitars, and it's just like there's like I was watching Drew Herrickle play guitar, and I'm like, why is the top of the whole top of the guitar like it's just like it looked like someone was hitting it with a shovel. And I just asked him, and he's like, "Oh, I have a mean upstroke." I'm like, "Mean upstroke," and he's like, "Yeah." Funny thing is, that guitar is like brand new, and I'm like, I've never seen anything like it. And I remember, it's funny is like before I had heard Willie Nelson's music, I had known about Trigger from a
Hmm.
just like I think it was like a 60 minutes thing or something, and I'm like, oh my god, look at that thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny is like I have guitars that are designed to wear like that, and I was always like, yeah, if I'm finally gonna get one of those, those suckers are the ones that buy that like that road worn, like come on, man,
Yeah.
you're just gonna buy a brand new guitar and just drag it behind your car, like let it wear and get some personality, see where you
Yeah.
hit the guitar. And I look at it and it's like, it looks old, but I'm like, man, I really thought I was like doing like the Stevie Ray Vaughan, just shredding everything, the strings and the
Uh-huh.
body, and then no. And then I see like there's a couple of female artists, and they have like holes
Yeah.
in the guitar bodies. I'm like, that is incredible. And I hear it, I'm like, I need to step my game up. It's it's just
Yeah.
cool how they can wear like that. And
Yeah, there's also something to guitars. I think people ask, I'm not a big gear guy, just because I've kind of just found what works for me and I go with that. But I am a big believer. People ask me about guitars all the time and like what brand should they get and what should that, and I swear the answer is go pick it up and play it, and if you like it, that's your guitar. Like doesn't
yeah,
matter if it's $300 or $4,000. I mean, I've seen people play $500 parlor guitars that were so matched to who they are as an artist that I can't imagine them playing anything else. It's I really don't think, I think some of that stuff's overrated. I think it's you just, pick it up, and if it makes you better, if it makes you more of you come through, then that's your guitar.
yeah,
And I just think there's a lot of truth in that.
yes. Some of them just they just got mojo. I picked up one of those like little parlor guitars, and you know why they made them? They were made for women. I'm like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this will fit in a book bag. You know,
Yeah.
and it sounds great, and you can go pick up a $3,000 guitar, and it just doesn't. It does it sound good, but yeah, for not for you. It's the same
Yeah.
with any kind of musical gear. That's like why, like when people, when you deal with people, it, especially a female, and they're like, "Why you need another one?" Like, oh, you have no idea. Believe me, I need to. I need
Yeah.
this 25th guitar.
Uh-huh. I do that. I do have a lot of them. Um, because I do have that obsession too, but I only play two of them, like on the road, in my shows. I don't even know why I have the others. I do have that kind of, collector's thing going on
Yeah,
where I don't know. I just like to have them. I always think, okay, there's going to be this one time. I also think as a writing tool, it's really important to have different instruments laying around. I really do. I think there's
yeah,
different characters. Every guitar has a different character to it. I have this. I have like a nylon string that I keep around because that's writing on a nylon string is completely different. I could write the exact same song on a different guitar, and but that writing it on that nylon is going to take me down a whole different avenue sonically. Then it's going to take the song in a different direction. And I've even it got stolen. I got to get another one. But I had a banjo for a while that I would, and I'm not a banjo player, but I could do just enough to where it would just, I could play enough chords on it to where if I was stuck, I could pick. If I knew I was onto something like maybe feel wise, but it just wasn't working for me, I could pick up do the same thing on a banjo or like a national guitar or something like that. And then all of a sudden the song comes to life, because it's got this character coming out of the guitar. So that's a big reason I have a lot of instruments laying around is because I do think it gives writing a lot of character. It can
Yeah,
it can it can really take your writing in a different direction, I think.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's like it is weird, especially if you haven't held it in your hands for a while, and
Yeah.
you like fall back in love with it, and just be like, oh man, and I just love moments like that where like you're like, man, you just end up, you just wanted to like pick it up and like noodle on it, and before you know it, you're 2 hours in, and you're like, man, why did I ever put this back in the closet? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got my very first guitar. My grandfather, when he died, he left each grandkid a certain amount of money, and I took mine and I bought a black Takamine. It was the one that Garth Brooks was playing in 1992 or whatever. I bought it because it's what Garth Brooks played. And um, now, like live, I mean, it does not work for me at all. It doesn't have anything that I look for in a guitar. It doesn't, but it's for one, it's sentimental. And I've written so many songs. I still have it to this day, and I still write on it. I still grab it and pick it up, and I would never play it out anymore because it just doesn't fit me. But man, I mean, I've written some great, written some songs on it. It's been a great guitar for writing songs. So. Um, Yeah, it's cool how guitars have personalities like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish I was a better piano player because I think that would be a good one too. I know people that do that. I'm not. I can hit a few chords, but I can't do the thing. I can't make it work. I can't make it sing.
Yeah,
I wish I could.
yeah. It's funny is I'll just stare at a piano and get like mad because
Yeah,
like
yeah,
all the notes are laid out, and you know how
yeah,
they work. You want to play in this key? Well, it's whole, whole, half, whole. And
yeah,
it's all laid out.
yeah.
It's there's
It's it.
nothing
Yeah,
funny
right.
about it. The
Yeah, it even makes more sense than a guitar, right? I mean,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. You're right.
the everything's fine and dandy. With the guitar until you're like, oh, why am I tuning this on the fourth fret instead of the fifth? And then that throws
Yeah,
everything off.
right.
But you know, it, I just like when people are like when they talk about a piano, I'm like, you play all the way keys, you're in C major, and
Yeah,
it should be that easy, but of course it's not. Like
yeah.
doing chords and everything. I have one, and like I don't have a piano, like I have a keyboard, and I have
Hmm.
all like the virtual plugins, grand piano, and I'm just like, man, it's just like I should be able to get you, and it just never. And I love the sound of piano. I it's just a beautiful sound, and
Yeah,
it just adds so much soul to it. Like who doesn't love like a piano ballad?
yeah,
It,
I know. Yeah, I love it too. I wish I could do it. I can't. It sounds funny because I play guitar, but like I can't separate the left and right hand. I can't do the bass runs with my left hand and be playing chords and
uh,
stuff. It just my brain, I can't split it like that. Even though I'm doing the exact same thing on guitar. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I know one thing though that I'm also a big fan of, and something I've been very surprised about as I've come up in this and met some very, very amazing musicians is the best musicians, they really don't get hung up on ego about what they're capable of doing. It's whatever gets the sound right. I mean, a very, very small example, if we're going to get into the making sausage, here, the like the capo is one of those things, like I think a capo is insanely important because, you know, if I'm going to play a song in E, well, I know how to play an E chord, but if I put the capo on two and play a D, that's a completely different sound. It's not that I don't know how to do it. It's just a different sound. And so anyway, my point in that is like I know some people that play piano and they play the keyboard and they just do the transpose key and they've just learned how to play in C extremely well, and then they just use the little transpose button on the keyboard. It's exactly like using a capo. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. They're still playing in C, but Just and you'd never know it. And these guys, they're just phenomenal. They're just, I mean, they're like world class players. And you'd think they're all hung up on I've got to do it the right way and play this instrument the way it was made to be. No, they found what works for them, and because the people listening, they don't care. They don't
Yeah.
care if you're using a they don't care at all. They just want to hear they just want it to sound good. So
Yeah.
that if I was going to learn piano, that's probably how I'd have to do it. I'd probably have to do that trick.
I do.
I'd have to do.
I'm taking notes in my head. I'm like, that is a great, because I'd never really thought of it that way. Because yeah, especially you just boop boop boom,
Yeah.
right there with you.
Yeah, yeah, it's exact. I mean, it's just exactly like putting a capo on a guitar. Same
Yeah,
thing.
man.
Yeah,
You just learn stuff every day about music. It's just never ending.
I know it really is. It's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I really love when I meet guys that are so good, and then you start asking them their tricks, and it's um everybody's got their little tricks, everybody's got their little shortcuts that they do that, and then they show you, and you're like, oh man, I was way overthinking that. I was making that way more complicated than it had to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing when just recently, I felt so stupid. I was reading a book, reading a music theory book, just trying to get back into it, and I never realized it's gonna sound when you're playing in a major key, you use all the letters. Like you know what I mean? Like
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, how did I not notice that? That blew my. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like that half my computing power in my brain has been just constantly thinking about that. And I'm like, it's just no matter where you start, you're gonna run through them all. Obviously, not all the sharps and flats and
Yeah.
everything, but they're all going to get used. And that I was like, oh my god, how did I not realize that this old?
Yeah.
This far along, and it was funny because I had nobody to talk to about it because I can call
Yeah.
my one buddy. He's like awesome guitar, and he's like, "What major? Which one's that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, never mind, dude."
Yeah. Did you learn theory in school?
Like very basic, but it was just like the major and the minor, and I didn't have any. I did not take it seriously. I just did it because it was like one of those electives you had to do. But
Hmm.
I really wish I would have like taken it because when you're young and impressionable, like something like that, like I still remember whatever third or fourth grade, cell, the basic unit of life, cell,
Yeah, yeah.
mitochondria, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
But at that same impressionable age, I was just like, just doing the little, okay. Oh, just one space. Oh, there's that. And I'm like, all right, I'm done. And it didn't
Yeah.
retain any of it. I do kick
Yeah. I always
myself.
thought I did band in high school, and I always thought I think I think about this all the time. Just had this conversation a couple weeks ago that it's a shame. Most people I know that took band in high school, they learned how to play the notes, and they learned how to play their scales, and they learned how to read the music, but I had no idea why I was playing the note I was playing. I had
Yeah.
no If I'm third chair sax, I don't know why I'm playing this note when the first chair's playing this note. I didn't know any of that. I just was told play this note that's on the paper. And I really wish they would take some time to explain that stuff a little bit more. Even though most people in class aren't going to care, there's a few that would, and at least maybe offer that as, I don't know. I just feel like there's something really cool because when you learn that stuff, it's because you're not gonna if you're in a band, if you're in high school band, you're not gonna play in a ensemble, a high school, you're not gonna play in an orchestra kind of setting
Yeah.
ever again in your life, probably. But if you learned those things, you could take that and you could use it in a guitar pull. You could use it in a campfire jam. You could use it in a studio. I mean, that's stuff that would outlive being in the high school band. If they would
Yeah.
actually teach you, like, you're playing this note because it's the harmony to this note that this guy's playing. And then, 10 years later, you're sitting around a campfire and, now you know harmony.
Yeah.
and I wish they would teach that a little bit more. I hate that, and maybe some do. I've never everybody I've ever talked to that was in band, and I've asked them that question. They've never said yes. They've all said that they didn't learn that stuff.
Yeah. And that's weird because I was never in band, but I always felt like the people in band would have known that. But like it might be like, hey, why did you play that? Well, it's on the sheet.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody. Yeah, yeah,
It-
nobody talked about it. It wasn't even talked about because I was learning guitar at the time, and I was trying to learn chord, theory like chord progressions and why do these chords go together and that kind of stuff. I really was trying to learn that stuff, and I remember then just being aware that we weren't talking about that in what was supposed to be the music part of school.
yeah. It, it's
Yeah,
it's incredible. Like it's 12 notes in Western music. 12.
yeah, it's
All these
unbelievable. Yeah,
songs. Yeah, and there's a science about them, and it's almost like it's like they gate kept it for no reason. Like instead of sharps and flats, there's other letters in the alphabet. Just run it out. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
right. Yeah, that's true.
we're gonna play this in K. We're like, oh, all right, you
Yeah,
know.
that's true. Why isn't C sharp just D?
Yeah,
Yeah, and you would just keep going up the every half step is another letter.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Just
don't know. Wonder
probably
why they
because
did that.
yeah,
Huh.
I have to look into that because now I'm more of like 1 0 0 1 1. You know, just
Uh-huh.
like people are like, oh, you play guitar and you don't read music? No, there's this thing called tablature, dude. It'll
Yeah.
change your life.
Yeah, I don't know very many people. I mean, I can read music, but it would be a very slow process. I would have to sit down. You know, I can do it, but it's not efficient,
Yeah,
but you tell me 1 4 5 and I'm all over it. It's I don't know many people that read music. I mean, even if they can, I don't know many people that actively like read music.
yeah. It's if I'm playing with somebody that I've never played with before, I just put what key it's in, and
Yeah.
if it's in major, you can play minor and major. But if it's major, stick to major.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just that bare that it's really playing lead is so easy compared to the rhythm guy's got to hold down the entire song. It's with the bass player and the lead. He just comes in and comes out whenever he wants.
Yeah. Bass player, I think, has the toughest job in the band. I really do think that's the hardest
Absolutely.
job because you're in charge of groove and melody. Not melody, but you know what I mean. I mean harmonically, like where the drummer, I mean, everything's important, obviously, and
Hmm.
but a drummer it is rhythm and groove, and then a lead player, you're right, you can just, if you get lost, you could just stop playing until you
Yeah.
find your place and you come back in. But a bass player, and the bass player, it's the most unsung hero of the band, right? Because if the song, unless somebody just knows what they're listening for and they're listening to it, if the bass player screws up, or if the bass player nails it. No, nobody's out there going, man, that bass player killed it. They're just going, that song sounded amazing. Whereas the guitar player kills it, they're going, man, that guitar player played that solo. He nailed it.
Yeah.
But nobody's out there going, that bass player is the reason that whole song grooved like that. Nobody's saying that. And you get one note wrong as the bass player, and nobody knows it, but the crowd just kind of goes, oof, what just happened? Something
Yeah.
weird, something weird just happened.
What was that? Was there a car
Yeah.
accident outside?
Yeah, you kind of don't get any leeway. I know some really great bass players that are so good at sitting in with bands because they've got that little slide thing they'll do, or if they do actually hit a note, they're able to kind of slide into the other note real quick to the
Yeah.
point that it almost sounds intentional. But that's those are few and far between finding those guys. But yeah, I'm very, in fact, I think play if I didn't write and sing and stuff, and I wanted to be a musician, I think that's the instrument I would have probably gravitated to, would have been bass.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot going on there.
Oh yeah. Like it's funny is I did a gig And well, I was supposed to play guitar, and my buddy's like, "Listen, bass player, who knows where he went? I need you to play bass." And I'm like, "I'm not a bass player." So I went on Facebook and I said, "Hey man, I got to play bass. Any any perks or any just anything can help, you know?" Because now I'm friends with a lot of musicians on Facebook now, and I just remember Bob Driver. He just said trees. Thanks, Bob.
What does that mean?
I just he says it just I guess just get high. And
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Bill Corbin was like, if you make a mistake, just stare at the keyboard player and blame it on him. I'm like, dude, we ain't got keyboard players out here. You know, like,
Yeah.
we're not as sophisticated as you are down there. Like, but yeah, like a bass player that knows, like, man, like I love Silverado,
Oh,
but
yeah, Omar.
Omar, oh my
Yeah.
god, it it takes a lot to take my eyes off of all the instruments. But if you know what you're doing on a bass, it's you have
Yeah.
my attention because it's incredible of how they can be playing leads too, and it's just like another sonic thing, and then like it and it's just crazy how like it just melts into a song, and like you said, no one notices until you know what if something happens to his gear or just, you know, he just moves or hits another audience or a stage, anything, any little just deviation of that, and it's like, oh, and it's like, but man, like it's an
Yeah.
incredible instrument that there's not enough bass players in this
No,
world.
no, there's not enough. I've played with some really good ones, and I've watched, and I mean, I just there's a level of subtlety to what they do that's like I've heard them talk about, it's like not just that you hit the note, how long do you hold the note? How long do you
Yeah.
sustain? I mean, there's good Lord, there's how hard are you attacking the note, even though you watch them and they're just going boom, 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 but they're not doing, there's way more than that.
Oh yeah.
There's, what kind of pressure you put on the string, how long are you letting it, oh man, it's unbelievable what all is going on in there that two note pattern that's going on.
Yeah. I love the stand up bass too. I mean, the first
Yeah.
time, Mile Zero, Corb Lund, I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
there's only that many guys in this band, and they made so much sound with it. The
Yeah.
guitar player was running back, playing the lap steel, going back, and he's spinning that bass around, and boom, 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 boom. I was like,
Yeah.
man, this is awesome.
That band is amazing. That's what happens when you have the same band for 20 years. I mean,
Yeah,
that band is unbelievable. Yeah.
yeah,
They're
they,
those guys are I think I've said that a lot. I think they're one of the best bands around. Like as a group of guys playing together. I just think, man, the stuff they do is really special. I don't know. I mean, you're right. It's just a wall of sound for four guys,.
yeah, yeah. It's cool how it's just that it was like the first time seeing Shane Smith and the Saints. I was like, where's the rest of the band? Did they not come here because it's far away? And then like, because I thought for sure they had a keys player with like synth pads,
Mm,
and then you
yeah.
just see like it's Sunshine with his reverb pedals and holding notes, and I
Yeah.
was like, wow, man, seeing stuff like that, like it makes you go home and like try to approach playing your instrument different. And
Hmm.
it's like when I was talking to Tim Lightyear, and he was like, "No, I got that sound with this," and I'm like, "Dude, I have that pedal in a drawer over there. You mean to tell me all this time I've had that sound?" And I'm just like, it just never ends. And that's why I like live music. It's never going away. Like if you truly appreciate what you see and what you hear, and especially as a musician, of like, it's funny, like when you look out and they're judging you,
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
we got a musician out there, but
Uh-huh.
I just I just love it. It's just so cool to see because like if you're really into it, you're just never done. You're
Yeah.
you're just never done growing.
Yeah, it is never going away. And there's just the human element of it. It can't go away. I think it's tribal. I mean, we've been doing it since, people could talk. I mean, I think we've been playing music together in some fashion, and I just think that I can't see it ever being replaced. I can see like, I can see like things that you create in a digital studio being radio hits. I can definitely see that being a thing, but I don't think the live show is ever going to be replaced. I mean, I think people want to see people get up there and grab an instrument and play it.
Yeah,
You know,
and
this
it's
sounds weird, but I mean, so my daughter she's really got into DJing, and that's a world I didn't know anything about at all. And I just thought I was kind of naive. I thought DJing was you just picking the songs, like you're just saying that I'm going to play this song, and then you're just like hitting next on Spotify is what I thought it was. And then, but it turns out there's just all these different, you're finding these things that you're basically playing each song like an instrument. And I didn't realize that there was that much going into it. But um, anyway, when you watch a good DJ, even though they're not technically like playing an instrument, that the human element of that person, I would way rather watch a DJ than listen to DJ music. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Than listen to house music. Like once you see the person doing it, once you see the guy up there and he's into it, and you know that there's a person doing that. I guess that's my point, is that live music, whichever form that takes, when you see the human element of it involved, it elevates everything.
yeah. It's also it's an energy as well.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, right.
when they look out and they see people are getting into it or not getting into it hard enough, and like with talking with DJs is cool. Like they can tell you, like they can just listen to a song and be like, oh, that's 80 BPM, that's
Yeah,
90
right.
BPM. It's
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like they'll use this song as like this song's my bass track, even though it's a whole song. I'm using this song as the bass track, and then this one's over the top of it over here. Yeah. I also have a real going back to the energy part. I think it's unbelievable how much a crowd is part of a show. I mean, that being on stage. I mean, it's I think when you go up and you start playing, I try to start every show 100%. I'm giving it, and I maintain that as long as I can. But there is a point of, if it's not coming back to you, it is a feedback loop, right? And if you're giving it out, and then you do end up in front of a crowd that's just not returning any energy, eventually, your 100% becomes 90%. You can feel it, kind of like you're not. It's just not. But then the opposite's true too, right? I mean, if you're giving 100 and then they start giving it back, then you're at 110, and then they get in that, that's when that
yeah,
magic happens, is when it's like this thing where, because they're giving you this energy back, you're getting better, which makes them give more energy back. And man, that's just when those are those magical nights. Um but sometimes you play these rooms and they're like, entertain me, and it's like, well, I will, but I got to get something back. I got
yeah,
to get I got to get something back from the crowd, or my energy's gonna fade. There's got to be some kind of. I need energy too.
yeah.
As much as you want it from the stage, I need it back in some form. Like I've played listening rooms that have had a ton of energy in them, and it doesn't, and I don't mean energy like they have to be out there doing this and
Hmm.
screaming, and they can be sitting and listening to the music. But there's an, I don't know how to describe that, but like I've played pin drop quiet listening rooms that had a ton of energy in them. People are, you can just tell they're into the songs, the way they react between the songs, just there's just, I don't know. It's a hard thing to describe,
Yeah,
but there's an energy that comes back at you that I think is pretty needed as a performer. For me, it is. I think for most people, it is. I'm sure there are people out there that could just give it 100% no matter what, But I don't know. I think I would say most people have to have something coming back at them.
yeah. Well, that's like my whole issue with like the big shows now. Like the crowd can be going crazy, and you can just tell the band's playing to a click. And
Oh man, yeah,
I miss that old school, like it's kind of like how like Metallica kind of like got into it. Everyone's going nuts. Lars is getting nervous, and and hey, we're just gonna play play faster, play with the drummer, and it's just I love that. And man, I've been so disappointed. Like once again, feeling like that old man type, but like everyone's going nuts, and the man is just like, man, if I wanted to hear it this way, I can put it on in the car while I'm driving
Hmm.
home. Like, give me more, give me a couple extra bars, give me,
Yeah, exactly.
just we're giving you the fuel, and and I guess some of these things are technical and it's all, but I think that you're hearing like,
Oh man, I can't.
I
I,
couldn't
uh,
I couldn't do it
I
because
used to I used to click on my very first record, and I hated it so much that I've never used one since. Not on stage, not in a studio. I just cannot. I cannot play hearing that little,
yeah, it's
going on. It just
au-
drives me crazy.
audible torture.
Yeah. I mean, I like when songs, um, when they speed up and slow down, and I mean, and if you're doing it right, nobody's noticing that. Maybe
Yeah.
if you did it on a record, people might notice it. But if it's a live show and the energy picks up and so the tempo picks up a little bit, I mean, there's nobody out there with a metronome going,
Yeah, got
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Like it's their whole
No, it's just,
TikTok thing. Oh,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
here. Oh, they're two beats off.
Uh-huh.
But yeah,
Yeah,
there's just cool like hole in the sky that dun 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 dun, dun and this gradual thing, and it
yeah,
just they weren't playing the clicks back then. It's just I always just like people are like, "What's wrong? This is incredible." I'm like, it is, but I'm just saying, yeah.
yeah,
Back in the day.
yeah. I had one studio experience one time that it was I did one thing one time that was very much the like a I don't know how to it was very slick. And I saw that process, and they would even take like they had the click, and so the click would show up on the graph, on when you're looking at the when you're mixing, they would have the little track that had the click, and so it would have the little spike every time the click went, the little spike. And then they would take things they would grab pieces of other tracks and they would nudge them so that they lined up with the click, like even the vocal, like if I came in singing, a half bar, a half beat too late, they would take my vocal and like nudge it back so that it lined up
Oh, and you can
with the
always tell.
click. And I mean, it was perfect. It was perfect, but no soul at
Yeah.
all. Just the deadest, just nothing. No life. Yeah, I'll take mistakes and weird phrasing and all that stuff all day long if it's got energy in it. But yeah, I that's not music to me. I don't know what that is, but that's not making music to me.
Yeah. And no. No. Like you said, I'd rather hear, the take as it was, cuz it's also cool to see like, you know, the recovery, cuz it
Yeah,
might
right.
work.
Yeah.
Sometimes like I really like when people they'll say the words, like our brains are just wired, especially if it's like tick 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 tick, and if it just holds off for like an extra beat and then says the last word. It's like a frustration. It's like it builds tension without really
Sure.
doing anything, but just by you know just people are so used to Mary had a little lamb, or if you just go
Yeah.
Mary had a little lamb, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
give me what I want. And I have sometimes some people incorporate it in their song, and I love stuff like that. And even
Yeah.
if it's not supposed to be like that, if it's a little like like hey, oh okay,
Yeah. Willie
that
Nelson made a career singing like that. I mean, that's his whole, that weird phrasing stuff that's his whole thing. Is his timing was so off, but not, I mean, it was
yeah
just so not perfect, Yeah. Uh, Merle Haggard was also a genius at that. He would build that into his writing. He would always if he it's almost like this is the line I want to say, and I know the meter doesn't match up, but this is the line that I want to say. So we're going to figure this out. And he'll just if you listen to a lot of his songs, like, if you're if when you're learning songwriting, it's like, okay, this is your meter, you've got eight bars in this verse, you know, it's 8 bars and then whatever, you know, this is your meter, that this is the meter pattern of the song, and that's once you've established it, that's what it is. And Hag would just he'd break that rule all the time. He just said, no, I've got these extra words I want to say, so we're going to add 2 extra bars on the end of this line, and we'll end up back where we need to be. I think that kind of stuff is so cool.
Yeah, he had a very eclectic style. I really liked how like, oh, this one has horns, this one doesn't, and I just really liked how he put stuff together, and it was just like you just never knew what was going to be on it. It just made me be like, how do you tour on a record like that? Like, there's a lot of
Yeah,
people to bring.
yeah, he this is kind of coming full circle to what we talked about earlier, but he had a way. I really think he was one of the greatest of all time in everything. But he had a way of he did weave through different. He had his like swing phase, you know, and he had his real groovy phase, and he had his real country phase, and he had all of those phases, but it always just sounded like Merle Haggard. Like he had that gift of, you know, it you didn't really think about, okay, this is Hag doing swing, this is Hag doing this is Hag. Especially as he got later in his career, he kind of mastered like how to weave those things in and out. And he would have on the same record, he would have a swing song and a real groovy, funky song and a songwriter song, and they'd all be on the same record. And you listen to it, and it just sounds like a Hag record. And he just really found a way to like he had his style, no matter what style of music he was playing. It was always just a Merle Haggard song, and that's incredibly hard to do. I
Yeah.
don't know how you. I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's it's the goal, you know,
Yeah.
to where it's I mean, that's just a lifetime of doing it. But yeah, he I think he was a master of that.
Yeah, definitely. Now, if Merle Haggard walked up to you and said, what have you done that would have made me proud?" Do you have an answer for that?
Huh. I I would hope, man, okay, that's a great question. I would hope that it would be never sacrificing lyrics. I think I would hope that that's one, because I think no matter what he was doing, his lyrics always were good. They didn't have to be saying something. It didn't have to be deep. You know, it could be. It didn't have to be deep. He could. I think I'll just stay here and drink. You know, like it didn't have to be some deep message, but the lyrics were good. He never had throwaway lyrics. You know, every lyric was good. So I would. That's something I've tried to learn from him. You know, so I would hope maybe he might pick that up, and then the thing I just said, you know, about not not getting doing exploring different styles of music if you want to, you know, and
Yeah.
not being afraid to incorporate that into your music.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Huh. I
That's
never
it.
got to meet him. I wanted to. I was stood Adam Hood and I stood I mean we stood 5 feet from, not even five, he walked right in front of us. I mean it couldn't have been a couple feet, at a thing in Fort Worth. I think it was the last time I ever saw him play. But it was one of Willie's picnics. I think it was a Willie's picnic in Fort Worth, and Shooter Jennings was there, and I had just met Shooter, and Shooter got us up like side stage for the whole thing, and it was Hag, and they were still using monitors. It was one of his last shows. Like he never used in ears. I mean, they still had floor wedges, and I'd been watching Merle Haggard since the early '90s live. And I saw him when I first started watching him, he was amazing. And then he kind of went through a period there where he started phoning it in. You know, you could tell he just wasn't as into it. You know, that he didn't have the good band. Like he kind of was, um, I don't know. It just seemed like was kind of going through the motions there for a little bit. But he brought it back at the end, man. And that the last show I ever saw him play was the best show I ever saw him play. And it was that night in Fort Worth. And yeah, Adam and I were standing there with Shooter side stage watching that show, and yeah, he walked off and just, I mean, walked, you know, this far from us, and That was it. That was as close as I ever got to him. But man, it was something.
You didn't say anything, or
No, he was no, I
I?
didn't. I mean, it was like everybody was there. You know, I wasn't gonna do that to him. And I've heard stories about people that did try to say things like that to him, like tell him how much their hero he was. I don't think he liked hearing that too much.
Oh no. Oh, then
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
see why. I love you,
I've heard,
Mr. Haggard.
yeah, yeah. I've heard some
Adam
pretty,
said
right.
it.
He's given some pretty blunt responses to people that have told me about it. So yeah, I mean, I just, when you are that great and I'm sure there comes to a point where you just don't want to hear that anymore. When you hear it 20 times a day, I'm sure you
Yeah,
just get kind of tired of hearing it.
yeah, that's true. That's got to
So
be a great problem to have.
yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
my dog doesn't even listen to me. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Right.
you're great, Patrick. Oh, say it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's a hard
but
thing to hear. I mean, I don't hear it a lot, but sometimes people say stuff that like tell you how much I would rather hear somebody tell me like a specific story. I've had people tell me like this song did this thing for me, got me through this situation. That's way more meaningful, to me than just somebody just telling you how good they think you are.
yeah,
It's more like the impact of it. Those are the ones that really stick to me when it's like you wrote this song and I was going through this and it got me through this and those are the ones that really move you.
yeah, and that's an incredible thing, and that's coming from the heavier side of music. Like I don't I can't ever think of anything, any song that really like moved me like that. But
Yeah.
I've seen people perform, and I had the couple moments live where I was like, oh my god, hold up, hold them tears back. You
Yeah.
somebody's gonna be like, that dude from TikTok's bawling his eyes out. I'm like, ah, and then just hearing a song like the of like that caliber, and like when you listen to like music like yours, and like it's almost like you're having a conversation with the listener, and then there'll be other songs that were like you're like, man, I went through that too, even if it's not
Yeah.
specifically about that. It's really cool. It's a really, because I've never really had it, and I love music. Like that's I'm like a kid who gets out of school when I leave work, and it's like let me run to my guitar and just play and jam and listen to music. Like that's what I love. And but I never had like a personal connection, and like you listen to music and you look at social media, or like even if it's like it's pictures or statuses, and and you can wait like the next 12 months and you can just hear a song and be like, that's what that picture was about, that's what that
Yeah.
status was about. It's really
Huh.
cool to get to know your artist through that way, without you know calling you up on the phone, and you know what I mean,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
may not say to even your best friend or somebody that what's really going through to you, but you put it in a song, and man, it's just it's a really cool experience of having that with an artist. And I get why people are so attached to their favorite country artist and artists
Hmm.
that have lyrical songs like yours and
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
uh, like I get it. Some people are I get the fanatics now. At
Yeah.
first I was kind of like, whoa, calm down. And it's like, like I've had moments being out in the crowd, and I know like here comes one of those sad songs on, and they gotta go, woo! I'm like, oh, calm down.
Uh-huh.
And, and
It is
he
a
just,
weird thing. Yeah.
yeah, and he just might like the slide guitar on there. You just gotta kind of remember people listen to music differently.
Yeah,
It's
they do. Yeah. Yep. Drew Kennedy and I wrote one a few years ago, and this story. I won't tell the specifics. It's not my story to tell, but but we wrote this song, and it's about a veteran, and anyway, so this last year I was out west playing a show, and this guy came up afterwards, and he told me a story about his best friend, and his best friend was he'd come back from one of the conflicts and had PTSD so bad that he was didn't know if he was they didn't know if he was gonna make it. And and he finally his friend basically said he had found this song, and that there was something in the song that reminded him of what he had. And he said it like turned his whole life around. Like it's like saved the guy's like the guy didn't he he changed this guy's outlook on life was this song. And Drew and I talk about that, and it's almost like everything from this point on is like free game. You know what I mean? It's like extra innings now, because if that really happened, and you've done and you are part of something that really changed somebody's life, I mean that's the whole ball game. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole goal, right? I mean, if you've done that once in your then the entire career was worth it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool feeling.
That's the, it's definitely a profound moment of hearing that, you know, it's, I mean, what do you say to that?
Yeah, it was tough. It was hard to react because you don't it wasn't the guy that had the experience. He was telling me about his friend, but yeah, it's still that's a tough one to react to. But yeah, I just thought, man, if that's I mean that's like you know anything else doesn't matter. Success and money and you know numbers and all of that. None of those things matter when you're talking about something like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's probably a lot more stories like that that just, you just haven't
Yeah,
heard them yet.
yeah, yeah,
It's, it's a crazy thing to think about
yeah,
that, you know,
yeah,
growing up in Mississippi, traveling to, we're at 49 states of
yeah.
the
49. That's right.
and just giving people like parts of yourself, and you know that, and just changing, just kind of your your music has like a butterfly effect, you know, when you put it out there and it can do stuff like that. That's powerful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think anybody that I, it's also the thing where it's just that I've heard it in a lot of used in a lot of different art forms, but it's the more specific you are, the more universal it is. Does that, you know what I'm talking about? Like the more as a writer that you write about something very specific that happened to you, for some reason that touches more people. Like that's more of a universal feeling. Not, because chances are if you've had that very specific thing happen, a lot of other people have had that very specific thing happen. Where if you're just trying to do this in general, like I'm going to describe love, I mean, that doesn't go very far. It's kind of comes across as generic. But if you describe this one moment sitting on a park bench with somebody, for some reason that's the stuff that people connect to is like the more of your actual truth that you're telling, or the more it doesn't have to be your own truth, but just more real life truth that you put in there, the more people do it. So I just think when writers are doing that, um, I think that's important, to do that, because that's what and again, there is also a part of music that's just supposed to be fun, and they're partying and they're driving their boat around on the lake and they want to have background noise, and that's amazing. That's exactly there's that too. But um, you know, there's the if you're trying to say something in your songs, I think that part of it is important. I think to give somebody something to connect to, and it's makes people feel not quite as alone. They think they're going through something that nobody's ever gone through, and then they hear it in a song and they go, "Oh, okay, I'm not the only one that's gone through this," or
Yeah.
I think it's a connection thing.
Yeah. And it's it's just like I had somebody. I just happened to be like singing the final countdown by Europe, and then I just remember the guy goes, "Is there any other words to that song other than that?" I'm like, "Yeah," but he's listened to the song his whole life. He's never heard them, and
Yeah,
that just kind of brought me. I was like, because I've been there, and now like what I really try to do is like really. It's really hard because I really like guitars, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
really like listening to your guitar playing. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
and that's the one thing I've been trying to do. But yeah, it is cool of
I,
how you do write these lyrics and these songs that they have effect on people, and it's like you said, it's like having a conversation, or you like metaphor, like you just patting somebody on the back in a song, just being like, "Hey man, I've been there,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and you're in Hawaii."
yeah,
Like, and people are
yeah,
having these experiences with your music all over the world. It
yeah,
it
yeah. It's
it's
crazy.
yeah,
But I have heard that comment a lot too, especially when I deal with like rock guys and people that are more in the industry side. Like they'll say like I haven't this they don't they're like I haven't listened to lyrics in forever. They're not listening for that. They're listening for either they're a musician and they're listening to the music part of it, or they're an industry person and they're listening more for like can this be a hit? That kind of thing. Um, but uh, but I think the best songs work on both levels. I think a really good song, you should still be able to love the song if you don't ever listen to the lyrics. If you never pay attention to what the song said. I think I, those are the best songs to me, are the ones that you listen to and you go, this song is badass. It sounds great. It feels good, makes me feel good. And then you go back, maybe five listens later and go, oh man, and he said something. He said this thing that's.
yeah,
I almost think it's better than when you just lead when like this lyric is front and center. I mean, sometimes that's really cool, but I think it's almost better when it's like when it kind of bubbles up after the rest of the song has soaked in.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I've had that moment a lot where I go back and listen. It's like, oh, I totally missed the sadness in that song. It's here I'm
Yeah,
listening to the harmonica and the cool
yeah,
riffs and everything. And
yeah. Or positivity. I mean, it doesn't have to be a sad message. I mean, it could be a
yeah,
uplifting message or a hopeful message. It could be anything. But um, yeah, I just think if you can kind of tuck the lyric into something that feels really good, that's the sweet spot. It's hard to do, but it's the sweet spot, I think.
yeah. I I see a lot of politicians using songs, and
Oh
you
yeah.
listen to lyrics, you're like, ooh, somebody
Yeah, like
missed the lyrics on this. It's just
right. Like Born in the USA.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I did it myself, and a lot of Independence Day. Martina McBride
Oh yeah. Right.
is another one that
Yeah, that's dark.
yeah.
That's a dark
When
song. Yeah.
when people like go back and listen to that again, and they're like, oh wow, that's a great example of what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Because
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Born in the USA is a good example. I didn't think about that, but that's it. I mean, that song, it rocks. And then
yeah,
you listen to I did hear him do it one time. Uh, I guess it was the way he wrote it, and it's like drop D, real finger picky, slow, and you definitely get what he was trying to say when he does it that way. But it's a great song too.
yeah, that'd be cool to hear it like that.
Yeah, it was like live in Brazil or something like that. Some kind of South American country. I only heard it one time. You should look up like Bruce Springsteen acoustic Born in the USA. And I want to say it's South America or something. If you just you'll find it's out there,
Yeah,
but it's really cool that it's him kind of doing it the way I think he wrote it.
yeah, I'll definitely check that out. But yeah, man, dude, we've been talking for like 2 hours.
I know, yeah. Yeah. I'm going on about 2 hours of sleep. Yeah. So when I left, it was 9:30 p.m. Hawaii time, and then so I basically flew overnight, and I can't sleep on planes. So
Yeah.
when I landed in Phoenix, it was 7 o'clock in the morning, and I hadn't slept, and I still haven't slept really. I've slept. I
Yeah.
kind of dozed off for an hour or so here and there on the plane, but that's good. I need it. I need to kind of force myself to stay up so I can sleep tonight and get back
Like
on track because I
do
got
the
shows
reset.
starting. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, I start back up when in 2 nights, so
um,
yeah,
Reset
right
that
back at
internal
it.
clock.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
is there anything else you want to add
No,
or some
I
you
do
got
have
coming up?
some. I do have a thing I've got coming out. I'm gonna start putting. Back in 2021, I went in the studio. It's the studio I've been making all my records at lately, and down in Austin. Um, and I went in and we had like an extra week, and the studio was open, and I had about 10 to 12 years worth of songs that I had written that just never had made other records. They just were always the one that just, and it worked because I didn't like them. It just maybe this one record had too many slow songs, or maybe it, didn't, or maybe it was a country record and this song wasn't country or whatever. Like but there was just this handful of songs that were just kind of laying around out there that never made other projects. And so I just went in and recorded them. Courtney came in, and we just the two of us sat down, and then we had a dobro player and fiddle and mandolin player. And that's it. We just did it real stripped down, real back porch, no drums, no bass, just kind of back porch style. Um, and I did it just to kind of preserve the songs because they've never really been recorded. So I'm going to put that out. I'm going in August to make this record, John Fulbright, the Tulsa record I was talking about. But in the meantime, between now, because that record won't come out till next year, till sometime in 26. So for 25, I'm going to start just putting those songs out from that little kind of sidetracks record that I made back in 21. So I'm gonna put a song out about every 6 to 8 weeks for the rest of this year, and then in January I'll release the whole thing as an album.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, it's something different for me because it's not fully produced. It's just kind of it's just real stripped down. Um, and yeah, it's just songs that I just would love. If I don't do it this way, they're probably never going to get out into the world. And so I'm kind of really excited. A lot of them were I wrote with some people that I got a lot of co-writes. I got an Adam Wright co-write and a Aaron Enderlin co-write on it, and Ben Danaher and Adam Hood, Jamie, a lot of co-writes on this one. And yeah, so I'm really excited to start putting these out. The first one's going to come out May 13th. It's a song I wrote with Jamie Lynn. And
Nice.
and then yeah, just throughout the year I'll be putting them out and then releasing it in January. And then start ramping up for the release of the whatever we're about to do here in August.
Nice. It just says like a porch sitting with Jason Eady and friends kind of
Yeah,
deal, right?
exactly. You're right.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll
Yeah.
keep
So
the true Edie fans happy.
that's right. Yeah, that's probably what it's going to be. It's going to be for people that really want to. It's not for the masses, but it's. I'm excited to get them out there.
Yeah, I'm excited to check them out.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, man,
cool.
thank you for coming on here.
Man, thanks for doing it. I love what you're doing and with all of it. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's still fun to do, and I just remember Talbot was like, we could probably do like 3 years, and I think we're past 3 years now. And it's just every Friday. It's like,
Yeah.
man, we have this mine ain't never going dry anytime soon.
You got anybody you're excited about right now?
Like in music wise,
Yeah.
man. I'm actually for like show and music for shows. Summer Dean's coming out here. I think this week. I think it's this week. I'm excited to see her live because it's been a while since I've seen anybody from Texas. But man, I'm trying. Cody Jinks is coming out here. I get to see Shane Smith and the Saints again, Tanner Usry, and pretty much I'm just honestly just looking for like a festival where I can hit a bunch of people because I'm all the way out here in Delaware and they the Northeast does not get enough love, and
Oh,
that's why
yeah.
I that's why I tell people I'm like I care. I want you guys to get good numbers so you guys can tour farther, maybe so I don't have to drive
Uh-huh.
so far or fly. But
I try to do it. I do the Northeast once a year, but man, it's tough. It's like the hardest part of the country to get people to come out. But I mean, I love going up there. I'm going back in October with Gabe Lee. We're doing a run together. Gabe and I are doing a run up that way. And it is getting better. I have noticed over the last three years or so that it is. I don't know if how the word's spreading up there or what. I mean, not just me. I think everybody. I've heard other people saying that too. That I think it's historically it's been a really tough place to get people to come out, but it's definitely getting better. I
yeah,
think people are finding out. So yeah, I have a festival in Mississippi that I do in November. If you're looking
yeah,
for a place to come hang.
yeah. I should have went. Oh man, I should have went. I I knew about it. It's just always like I work in a 24/7 office and they only let two people off at a time
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
such a pain. Yeah,
yeah,
Lauren Morris. I'm pretty sure that
yeah.
was her who texted me and was like, "Are you going to you better come down here right now like Midnight River Choir is going to make you breakfast." I think that was like the like
Yeah,
uh,
we do a lot of stuff like that. It's a lot of there's shows and then there's like late night campfire jams after the show's over with everybody, not just the artist. It's like the crowd comes too, and yeah, the artists cook all the meals. Like I do a gumbo one night. Um, yeah, it's really interactive. It's small. It's only like 200 people, but but because it's only 200 people, everybody just hangs out the whole time. It's
that's
very
cool.
communal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
I,
with this year we got Adam, Taylor Honeycutt, Silverado, they're all coming back. Um, Juliana Rankin is coming, Rob Ikes and Trey Hensley, Sonny Sweeney. Yeah, so it's gonna be a fun
nice.
lineup. Yeah.
Yeah, I know all those names. I think you know what? I think I am seeing you. If everything goes right, October at always North Springs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Are
Yeah,
you
that's
doing
gonna be
that this
fun.
year?
Yeah, uh-huh. That's gonna be great. Yeah, I'm doing the
Yeah.
Friday night.
Okay. Yeah. The person I asked to go. It's all about the showers. I'm like nobody is going to be showering every day. It's just not going to happen. I'll bring some water.
Yeah,
I'll get
right.
you a little heater. You can wash your hair, and you just get some wipes, and
They
it's
make those little pump showers, you buy a
yeah,
big tub and you just
yeah.
pump
That's what
it
I
and it
said.
comes, yeah.
I said I'll bring like 20 gallons of water, which I know it will be gone with you in a day. But the lineup's great. Like
Yeah.
she's a huge fan, and yeah, I was like, dude, I thought you said you did camping. She said, well, we're going to sleep on the ground. I'm like, I'll rent an SUV and put an air mattress in the back. Like,
That's what I'm doing.
yeah, that's
That's exactly what I'm doing.
it's not roughing it. Like you said, you get the pump thing, and they make some that actually
Hmm.
heat it up. Just I get it. You want to wash your hair, And, well, how am I going to run my hair dryer? I'm like, there's no inverter that probably would run a hair dryer without burning a battery, but I got some solar panels. I'm like,
Or a
it's
hat. A hat will do
a
that.
hat, a hat, and big sunglasses.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah.
And she loves Taylor Honeycutt too, and I'm like, Taylor probably isn't. Taylor's not showering, and she will
Oh, Taylor's,
absolutely tell you
yeah.
that she's
That's
a.
like that's her world is exactly what's going to happen down there. She's
Yeah,
she's kind of mastered that. Yeah.
yeah. She's
Sleeping in vans and the whole deal. Yeah.
yeah. I love those guys. They're awesome. They're,
Yeah.
that's why the people that care about their fans and the whole roster. I'm like, yep, that's definitely somewhere I want to go, and
Yeah.
I need to look into your festival as well because yeah, I know everybody there too, and that's a definitely that's definitely an experience that where else could you even get that at? You know, because
Yeah,
everybody all
that's what we're trying to do with it is make it something that because there's a ton of festivals, and I really wanted it to be something that wasn't just come to another festival and watch these bands play. You know, it's way more than that. It's you're hanging out, you're all eating dinner together, you know, the artists are cooking the food, you're sitting around till 3 in the morning around a campfire playing songs, and you know, it's way more than just um, you know, this guy's on from 7 to 8, and then this guy's on from 8 to 9 or whatever. You know, it's like
yeah
there is that, but then there's all the other stuff around it too. But
yeah
you have to keep it small. That doesn't work when you get up into big numbers.
yeah yeah it'd
But
have to be a
yeah,
big bonfire.
yeah, gets dangerous.
Yeah, but
Well,
yeah,
I'll save a spot for you if
all right,
you want to
yeah, I
come
know.
down.
I know Soul Gravy went. I was like, man,
Yeah,
I just need to make plans. Just put the put the plans in. Like I do not. That's one thing. Once I say I'm going to do it, I do it. But if I don't say yes or no, I'm like one of those. I'll
yeah,
keep it on red. It's just how I've
yeah,
always
yeah,
been.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I definitely have to check that out. But yeah, man, dude, thanks for jumping on
Yeah, man.
and
Thanks for
doing
doing
this.
this. This was great.
Yeah, I had a great time talking to you.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate what you're doing all the way around. So thanks for supporting all of
Yeah,
this.
I I I love the support back. It's really cool, you know, to hear it does help and people are just like, yeah, man, you know, and I hope when people do see the videos, that it's like today, I did a little thing. I say, have you heard Jason Eady? And then one guy goes, man, that's good. That's what country's missing. I was like, you know, even if it's just one guy, just sometimes
Yeah,
that's all it takes is to see your name and to hear it, and man, you know, it's like the Queen's World, and he tells 10
yeah,
friends, and they tell 10 friends, and you
yeah.
know, the word of mouth, man.
Hmm.
So
It's true.
I I hope it does help.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well,
Well,
I'm not
cool.
done yet. We
Yeah,
got a May
that's good.
13th release. We gotta. I'll have to do that one as well.
Okay. Yeah,
But
cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks,
All
man.
right.
I really appreciate it. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you as well. Well, you enjoy the rest of your what you're on what day two,
Yeah.
day two, day night.
Yeah.
But
I'm about to sleep for about 12 hours here in a little bit.
well, I hope
Yeah.
you sleep well, man.
All right. Talk to you later.
Yep. Thanks, man.
All right. See you.
See ya.